Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start now because we're following Chris's 7-minute rule thingy that he has. So first, I'm going to go over just a few basic rules so that everybody so we're kind of all on the same page for using the Zoom format. So first, things can obviously get pretty chaotic if everybody's talking all at the same time. So pretend like you're in a classroom and only one person gets to talk at a time. Chris is going to mute everybody, which he already did. And you guys already know if you want to talk, you'll have to unmute yourself and then say what you want to say and then remute yourself. This will help us to cut down on background noise, and it'll hopefully allow everybody to have a chance to input without having to talk over somebody else. But it's also handy that if you needed to scream at a child, or in my case, scream at my husband or kick him in the shin or whatever, then you can do that without any judgment whatsoever. Not that any of us were going to judge you in the first place anyway. Chris is supposed to be recording this meeting for us, and then tomorrow I will send out a recap along with all the information that we covered tonight. So if you have to miss something or if you have to leave for whatever reason, you can catch up tomorrow. All right, let's get started. If your house runs anything like mine, then often there's a lot of things that sit on the back burner and they get ignored until they become absolutely essential or they become an emergency. That phenomenon drives me absolutely crazy. Nobody cleans the baseboards at my house or dusts or cleans windows or puts their laundry away completely until I either blow up and yell at them or I insist because we're having some kind of event. But they're all really things that should be done on a regular basis. They just don't get done because we get busy, people get distracted, they procrastinate. But the things that we're going to discuss tonight are just like the baseboards and the windows and the laundry. They're things that we really should be doing anyway, and we just have back-burnered them in order to do other things like, remodel a building and try and get things up and running. But because we've now been given this huge pause in the middle of our lives, we're hoping that it might allow us some time and some space to create some new routines and some healthy rhythms. Hopefully it'll help us create more of a sense of community with one another as part of the body of Christ. So we've been talking and planning on implementing small groups really since the beginning of Open Table. But because we can't meet in person currently, we've decided to go ahead and take the plunge now in hopes of helping all of us support and encourage one another through this season of uncertainty. What we really want to do is just break into a few different size groups. And Chris wants to stick with the table theme. Obviously, we usually gather each week around the Lord's table, and then the next tier down, what would typically be a small group, is what we'd like to call a dinner table group. This will be about the number of people that you could fit around a large dinner table. And then the smallest groups of all would be what we like to call coffee table groups. This would basically be the number of people that you might sit around your coffee table with, talking, interacting, enjoying drinks, or whatever you want to do to support one another. What we're going to do tonight, though, is we're going to lean into this concept of a coffee table group for us as women. But in ladies ministry, because I often don't go along with Chris, we're going to give them our own name, and we're going to call these groups the Story Girls. Each Sunday, as we're blessing our children to send them off to their classes, we pray these words. May they always find themselves in the story of God, and may they never know a day where they don't feel a part of the people of God. Every time I hear those words, I think they're so powerful. We are all part of this grand story that God is writing, and your story and mine are a part of that story. Just like the stories of Abraham or David, Paul or Ruth or Miriam, Mother Teresa, Corrie ten Boom, or countless others that we could recount. Your story matters, and it has a purpose. It doesn't matter what it looked like in the past, what it looks like right now, or what it will look like in the future. Your story matters. God put stories of prostitutes and queens, adulterers and scholars, murderers and moms, religious zealots and soldiers, as well as polygamists, fishermen, abusers, abused, depressed, and crazy people, all in the Bible. He specializes in writing the very best stories. But here's the deal. We have to find the courage to let him write our story. And that's where our Story Girls groups will come into the picture. Our desire at OTCC is to use these groups to allow ourselves to become fully seen and known, and to allow God to shine his light into our lives and help us to create beauty in ourselves and in our world. We all need opportunities and a safe environment to share our hurts and frustrations, to express our joys and triumphs, and the freedom to listen and learn from one another. This won't happen overnight, and we'll all have to give one another the grace to mess up. We'll have to learn to practice authenticity and compassion. But these girls are the girls who will not only know your story, but they'll help you to write it. Over the course of the next week, I'd like to sort each of us into Story Girl groups. Our groups will consist of a minimum of 3 women and a maximum of 5. The groups will function on a couple basic ground rules, and I'm going to give those ground rules to you now, and then I'll send them out again tomorrow. The first one is the most important. What's said in your group stays there unless you're given permission to share. We'll have to work to create a safe place for one another, and it'll start with that very basic rule. 2, we're not trying to fix one another. That's God's job and God alone's job. If we're honest, he's going to be way better at it than we ever could be. 3, we can practice being brave with one another. We can share our successes and failures, our screw-ups and triumphs, and in the process, we can all learn to be a little more authentic. And number 4, we can create space for one another. We're trying to intentionally create an environment where we can pray for and encourage one another, where we can point one another to the great love and grace that God has for each of us, where we can help pick one another up when we screw up, where we can learn to practice to fail and then forgive and laugh together because we know we're each loved. If you already have women in your life that you do life with in this way, then by all means, I want you to continue doing life with them. But I would also love to see us trying to create some new multi-generational groups where we can bridge age gaps and different seasons of life. We all have so much to offer one another and to share. Here's how we'll set the groups up. You can message me, your group members, if you know who you'd like to be with, or if you don't know anyone, or if you just want to live dangerously, you can message me, and I'll put people together. You can message me via Facebook if you use Facebook. If you're not friends with me already, you can friend me on Facebook. I'm not super great about friending people on Facebook. You can text me, and I'll give you a second to write my number down, but remember, it'll come out tomorrow in the email as well. My number is 913-548-8935, or you can lastly email me at eheinzelman1@gmail.com. Here's the deal. I kind of would like it if we could get everybody's names by this Sunday, the 29th, and then I'll try and get all these groups up and running by next Monday or Tuesday of next week. Now I'm going to give you just a little bit of information on how I envision these groups running, per se. This is pretty loose because each group is going to look different, and it should. So here's kind of my vision for these groups during this quarantine. And obviously they're going to be able to look significantly different once we can be in person with one another. But the first thing I think we should all do is create a group text with everybody in your group. And then we should commit to texting one another, texting things that are mundane, text the funny things, the maddening things, the things that you see that are beautiful every day. Send each other pictures, gifts, memes, jokes, whatever it is that's going to help you feel connected to these other people. And then I'd like for us to use Zoom or Messenger or FaceTime or Skype, whatever platform it is that your group decides to use. And I would like for us to commit to video chat with one another once a week. During that time, you guys can do a Bible study together, you can read a book together, you can do crafts together, you can do anything at all that your group wants to do to remind yourselves that you're part of the people of God and that you're writing a story together and that story is good. You can get creative. I'm just giving you ideas. Whatever it is that your group comes up with, then let's do it. Like there are no rules, no boundaries to how you can do this. Each group is going to be unique, and we want each group to be unique and to look different. The next thing is I can help you with resources for your group. If you decide that you want to do a Bible study and you're like, I have no idea where to start, you can contact me. Any of those ways that I gave you to contact me earlier. There are tons and tons of studies. Life.Church has complete women's conferences online, and you could, over the course of the next several weeks, watch they have from 2015 to 2019, they have their women's conferences. You could watch those together. You can do Bible studies via the YouVerse app or the YouVersion app. That has tons and tons and tons of plans. They've got plans that are specific to women. They've got plans specific to different topics. Like there's all kinds of things that you can do. And then you can do book studies. Like I just looked at one that Ann Voskamp did based off of her book, A Thousand Gifts, that I am looking forward to doing. So that's kind of how I'm envisioning those groups during this quarantine time. Is just that you would have a group that you can talk to every single day, people that you can reach out to when your kids are driving you crazy because you're not used to having them under your feet all the time, or people that you can say, oh my goodness, I saw my first flower bloom today, or just your people that are going to know what you're doing on any given day. Because to be honest, that's what we're going to need. We need people. We need to know that somebody else is doing this with us right now. Okay, now we're going to kind of move on from that. So that's kind of like our littlest groups. So then outside of that, we would like to bring all of those Story Girl groups together on either a monthly or a quarterly basis. And that's still kind of up in the air as to how often we would do that. And we would choose things that we would do as a larger group. But here's kind of what I want to, the first thing that I want to discuss with you guys is, are you guys wanting to do a Bible study or even a book study during this time when we can't physically meet together? Would you like to do something as a large group, or would you prefer to do it just with smaller groups? So we'll kind of, you guys can unmute, you can speak at this point, and then we can kind of, you kind of jump in and let me know what your thoughts are there. If we want to do it, I have some ideas for some different studies that we can do. So anyway, so you guys kind of take the floor. Let me know what you want to do.
Hi guys.
Don't everybody jump in at the same time.
I vote for a large group, large Bible study group. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you, Steph.
Okay.
Anybody else have any thoughts?
What about the idea of having a large group, but then we break off into our small groups as well? Like have one main study that we're all working on, and then maybe we come together once a month as a large group?
Absolutely. That's a definite option.
Do both sides of it.
When you're doing the large group, like you have a 30-minute discussion and then break off into groups and go, each table of 5 or 6 people could discuss among themselves if your group gets too large. I mean, this group isn't very large, but just thinking if you had twice this many people, that would be hard to do. But I would like to do a large group, but I think then maybe breaking off into like little tables.
Right. Anybody else have any thoughts?
I don't know if this is even an option right now with everything going on, but I did notice on the news tonight there's a youth group that broke off into small groups, and they're meeting in a big parking lot with their distance and popping up their trunks and putting a lawn chair, and they have to sit at their trunk, like a circle time. So maybe we can even meet that way as well.
It just made me think today the teachers got in their cars from the Wellsville Elementary School and they drove all through town to wave at all the students. And they went down, they had the police and the fire trucks and the sirens and everything like a parade. And people downtown did a good job of like parking every other space. Everybody was very distanced, but downtown the whole main street was lined up with people to say hello to all the teachers. It was pretty cool to see all those people come out for that today.
I definitely like the idea of doing something periodically as a whole group. I don't know, like it made me really happy when everybody's faces popped up on my screen. I'm like, hey, I haven't seen you in forever. And even like there are some new faces too, but to me anyway. So I definitely love the intimacy of the small groups, but having the larger group come together as well just seems really good to me. So I was trying to decide, I don't know if I'd be able to keep up with a Bible study necessarily, but I also feel like I might just be making excuses for myself. And so having a group to do it with might actually like keep me honest, I guess, and keep me up with that. I mean, just like what you started with, you know, like there are things that we need to be doing like baseboards, and, you know, Bible study is more important than baseboards, but it's something for me that kind of gets pushed to the side in trying to keep the household.
Hi, Betty. I see your face finally. Okay, so I'm going to kind of move on to our next point. And I'll kind of give you guys some options in terms of if you do want to be part of a large Bible study group, and then your group can decide if you want to continue that outside of the large group, or you can choose to do something else as well. But here's kind of the couple options that I came up with that I think would be really good for us. So I came up with two options, and one is a book study, well, it's a video study, and the other is an actual Bible study from the YouVersion app. And so the first one is a study on Psalm 23, and I was gonna, just a second. Sorry, had to find my Post-it note that I wrote the whole name on it. So the first one is a study of Psalm 23, and it's The Shepherd with Me by Jennifer Rothschild. And if you have the YouVersion app, you can just enter it. And then it's a 5-part study, and I thought we could possibly do that maybe once a week over the next 3 weeks. So basically you would do 2 of the devotionals the first week, 2 of the devotionals the second week, and then the third week we would do the final 3. I think it breaks out fairly nicely that way. And so you would do the devotionals beforehand, and then we could all meet to discuss that if that was something that everyone's interested in. And then the other one that I kind of looked at was Ann Voskamp's study on 1,000 gifts. It's also a 5-week study, and it's a video-driven thing, so you watch a video. Each of the videos is 23 minutes long, I believe. And it goes along with her book, The 1,000 Gifts. And if you follow Ann Voskamp at all, you know that she's huge into learning to practice your gratitude muscles. And so that's what The 1,000 Gifts is all about, is learning to find joy and grace in the midst of situations where there really shouldn't be joy and grace. So I like both of those. I think they would be fairly easy, fairly low commitment level in terms of, because I know kind of to an extent, even though we're all stuck at home, there's still a lot of things that have to be done. You know, now we all have our kids at home. If you weren't homeschooling before, you now are homeschooling, and we're trying to do work from home. So I definitely don't know that we want to do something that adds a ton to our plates, but just something that would kind of gather all of us together. So anyway, so those are kind of my 2 thoughts on if you want to go a simple Bible study. We can study through the 23rd Psalm and just talk about God being our shepherd and caring for us, and that we don't have to be shackled to fear and to worry. Or we can go the book study route and watch the videos for the Ann Voskamp study and practice flexing our gratitude muscles. So anyway, so that's kind of the 2 options that I came up with. Like I said, I'm going to send out kind of these options tomorrow, and I'll allow everybody to respond further if that's something that you want to do. And then I'll try and get everybody put into Story Girls groups as well. The other thing that I kind of want to talk about is just other ways that we can, as women, work together to connect the entire body. And there are tons and tons of options out there. I don't know if you guys have watched social media at all, but there are people that are doing online cooking classes, and it's just some lady in her kitchen, or it's a kid cooking in her kitchen. There's people that are writing poems, people that are doing art and showing people how they did it. There's people that are doing crafts and showing you how to do crafts. A friend of mine, she got her whole family together, and they only have 1 child living at home out of 5. And so the other 4 joined remotely, and they made Easter baskets together the other night via Zoom. So those are all options that we kind of have. Another one that I thought of was if somebody wanted to read stories to the younger kids, you could just take a storybook and just read a short story to the younger kids, something that lets those little kids feel like, oh, look, I get to be on YouTube like everybody else. And it might give mom or older siblings a break for, 15 minutes or so. There are all kinds of, at Christmas, we actually did a Christmas light scavenger hunt with our whole family, and we broke off into smaller groups and went out. But we could do online scavenger hunts where you text your pictures into a specific number, and then we could have, goofy prizes for it and stuff like that. We can create book clubs. There's all kinds of different options for things that we could do to create community. And so this isn't necessarily something that we necessarily need to do right away, but I want to encourage everybody to kind of, what ways can you help to connect our entire body and kind of keep us from just sitting at home being completely isolated. So I'm going to kind of open this up for some comments for a few minutes. If you guys have any sort of ideas or options that you want to throw out, something that I haven't thought of, or something that you're like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this. I will tell you that my kids and my husband all want to start a YouTube channel to show everybody the chaos of our daily life. I'm not sure that I'm down for that though, now.
Did anybody see on the news, I don't know, this kind of touched my heart because I don't have younger kids still at home, but the bear hunt where people are putting stuffed bears in the windows and parents are out walking with the kids, and maybe we could try to do something like that in the community of Wellsville and even Edgerton, and create, maybe it's not a bear, maybe we come up with something else that they have to look for. But that would be a way we could easily minister to others.
We actually are doing that in Wellsville right now. I have a bear in my window.
Do you?
Yeah.
So, the I think if we could get our minds around what could we put that kids would want to go look that brings Christ into the middle of it, right? Hope. Maybe we could come up with our own little message for it, but I thought that was kind of cool. Of a scavenger hunt where they're out looking. Maybe it's not bears in a window, but maybe it's something else.
Our city, I live in Merriam, and our city sent out an email asking everybody to use chalk and decorate their driveways or their sidewalk with an encouraging message or a nice picture or something, and then told everybody to go around and, see what everybody draws, take pictures, and post it on Facebook and stuff like that. So I thought that was a cool idea.
We actually got a letter today, our family, from Aviva Holzheider. So that's another idea, is that we could let our kids share addresses and let them, mail letters to one another. My kids thought it was super cool that they got something in the mail from Aviva.
Yeah, I think she's been loving doing that because her little extrovert heart is just so sad to not be playing with friends every day. And so I think that would be super sweet, and not just for kids. Like it's exciting to receive something in the mail that's not a bill or junk. So I think that's fun. Yeah.
I know we're doing all the things, or we're talking about all the things, but that reminded me when I was growing up, my mom used to participate in what they called Secret Sister, and so that could be something. We could just do it as a whatever, we could do it for fun, but if we wanted to add that element of, like, I don't know who's sending it or something like that, we could do that as well. But I think just getting into the practice of having each other's contact information, and so it can be a card, it could be a small gift, it could be just a word of encouragement or a text or something like that. But I guess that's kind of probably wrapped up a lot in these small groups that we're going to do. But I don't know. I just was reminded of that. And they used to come into church sometimes and find a bag on whatever entry table there was with their name on it. And you just never knew when something like that was going to happen. So that's always fun, like getting mail.
Okay, Betty's question, she asked, she doesn't have kids at home, only wiener dogs, which she grouped with ladies more her age. And that's kind of, I would love to see some older ladies grouped with younger ladies. In the Bible, it tells us, let the older women teach the younger women. And I think that goes both ways. I've learned tons over the years from younger gals that hung out in my house. Cindy Crooks used to bring her daughter Chelsea to my house every day for one summer. And Chelsea taught me how to make a type of bread that I had never learned how to make before. We can all learn things from, and that's not the only thing I've ever learned from Chelsea. That was one thing that I learned that summer. What are you laughing at? Chris is laughing at us. I'm not sure why. It's kind of unnerving.
So Sheila called me today, and I felt her, she was a little nervous because she wasn't able to do this today, and her daughters were kind of giving her a really hard time about going out into public, going to the store. So I think it is a really good idea, especially to get her involved, because she's kind of feeling a little on the sad side. It's what I felt. She didn't put it that way, but she was pretty tired and upset she couldn't do this tonight. So
He's covered in mud.
Giving her a chance would be good.
You're currently covered in mud. Asher just came in covered in mud. You can't really see.
Hey, Brandy, why can't Sheila do it? Does she not have a computer or something? Or
She was planning on coming tonight, but then she was just worn out. She's very much an extrovert, and she is used to visiting people every day. There's times when she comes to my house, and a lot of times she just drops something off, but there's times she comes to my house 3 or 4 times a week, and just says hi to the kids, and then she leaves. So for her to be stuck at home, she's struggling. I talked to her a couple times today, and she called me shortly before the meeting to tell me that she was going to stay home, or that she was getting ready to go to bed because she was feeling discouraged, and it was wearing her out to be stuck at home and inside. And so I told her I would send out an update in the morning, and that I would make sure that she got included in whatever we do. But yeah, she definitely wants to be involved, and definitely needs that interaction. I mean, she's not the only one. We all do.
Well, if you'll include her information, phone number and stuff, I'll give her a call this week. I'd love to.
Okay, I can do that.
Why don't, sorry, can you hear me? Why don't we send out like fun care packages to people that are really sad, or that are going through things, and maybe like add some fun joy or happiness to them. I don't know, that sounds really weird, but
no, it sounds great.
I'm not saying like anything like when they open the box confetti hits them in the face, but like pretty close. But just a thought.
No, I love it. I love the idea of basically sending sunshine to other people. Biggs, be careful. Okay, Chris is wanting to know how long it's going to take you guys to notice what he wrote as his name in the chat little thing. So I'm going to rat him out.
I noticed that a while ago. FYI. And how many times it's changed. It keeps changing.
Yes, he's changed it multiple times.
So has he been Open Table Community Church and Tech Guy and now Esther's Boy Toy?
Yes, he has been all of those things apparently.
Awesome.
And he thinks that it's oh so funny to tell us all of those things.
Yeah. No different from the introductions to his sermons, Esther.
Okay, so
listen,
here's
you
what
bring
I'm
the
gonna
stuff
do.
on yourself.
What?
Just Esther's Boy Toy said easy now to everybody, and I was like, you bring it on yourself. So
He does. He totally does. Okay, guys. So I am going to send out kind of a little recap of this in the morning, and it'll have the recording if you need to watch it, but mostly for the people that weren't able. I know Morgan, she had to work until 7:30 tonight, so she wasn't able to come. So I know there's some people that wanted to be here, just couldn't be here tonight. So I'm going to send out the recap for them. Really, dear? You're not allowed in here anymore. So I'm going to send out a recap in the morning. If you want to be involved in a small group, if there's people you want to be with, or if you just want to be crazy and let me put you with people, however you want to do that, let me know. I really think the Story Girl groups are going to be super important for us, especially right now. I think we really need, I think we just need some support and some love from somebody else. And realistically, we're all going through the same thing, no matter what season of life we're in. I love that Teresa is now knitting. Aw, okay, is that Henrietta? Am I right?
I'm on a video.
Okay, so I'm going to send out a recap tomorrow. It'll have my information so that you can let me know. Oh, that's Mavis. So you can let me know if you're interested in being in a Story Girl group. And then I will include in that information about both the Psalm 23 study and the 1,000 Gifts study. And if there's enough people that want to do that, then I will offer one or the other of those studies. How are you doing? Oh, Asher wants to say hi to everybody. You can tell everybody hi. You have to wave up there where they can see your hand. They can't see your hand. There you go. Now you can wave.
Hi, Asher.
Are people talking to you?
Hey, big.
You were talking about that.
You don't know where your Spider-Man is? Maybe you should go find it.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. I need to get Milo back home probably.
Yep,
So
I'm gonna send out a recap. We're just gonna pray and close up. So
Esther, I was going to mention real quick that the 1,000 Gifts devotional and the book are both on Hoopla. So that's the library app. Here in town, if you have a library card, you just download the app and it's all right there.
Yep. And I don't remember who. I have a copy of the book. I can't remember who I loaned it to. I loaned it to someone. Oh, Amy has it. And she's raising her hand.
I'm only halfway through it, but it's so good, and I will finish it up.
But we also have it on audio as well. If anybody's interested in listening to it.
The book on the Hoopla is also the audiobook.
Well.
There's both the audiobook and the devotional.
Yeah.
Both of them are audio, or there's an ebook. So I don't know if any of you have questions, I can send out my information to help you get signed up. I love the library apps. I mean, you can check out your books so convenient all the time.
Yep. Yeah, the library apps are incredible. Anyway, so let's pray together and then you guys can hang out and chat for a few minutes, or you can sign off.
You're echoing.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened.
I forgot.
Oh, Chris accidentally unmuted himself. It's his fault. Dear Heavenly Father, I pray that during this time when the world is so full of fear and uncertainty, that you would cause us as your people to find ourselves in your story. This story that you're writing where love wins and where we have peace and hope. Let this be a time that we're able to look back on and know that you have provided all of our needs, that we'll be able to look back and see your protection and your guidance, that we would find in this place that we learned to ask you for faith, to believe in you and your word, a place where we learned to get out of your way in order to watch you perform miracles for us, both big and small. Let us find it as a place where we learn to find new and creative ways to manage stress, a place where we learned to live more healthy lives. Lord, help us to learn to build better community and healthier relationships with one another that we might not have thought possible before. Let us learn to love and to pray and to sing and to create and live our lives in your story as your people. In Jesus' name, amen.